fellas. Let's get this started, shall we? Final speech. Imagine the Earth as a single colony of ants. The land our colony has chosen seems to be getting more and more hostile as generations continue. Rather than fortifying what we have now, we try to expand and fly off to create new colonies. But the hostile environment keeps us from entering any further than our territory. This figurative speech can be used to represent many things, but what they all have in common is that we are set with limitations to our current space. In this sense, our colony is surrounded by three major species or problems: CO2, pollution, and world hunger and diversity. The topic I chose for this speech to focus on is a branch of green energy, technology designed to combat one of these major problems, CO2. As you may know, CO2 is a building block of life. Plants consume it and release oxygen for life forms to breathe on the planet, and then those life forms exhale to release carbon in an endless cycle. However, in order to continue with the advancement of technology, we have made sacrifices that have caused our carbon footprint to rise. According to NASA, humans have raised the world's carbon total by 50%. That is 50% more than the world itself can naturally intake. CO2 has one way of affecting the world we live in, that being climate change. To combat this, green energy comes in. Green energy is a concept that is still rather new and has made its way into many school settings and is still considered a new concept. However, it is a topic that everyone should learn about at some point or some other, as it will affect our future as a society and how we go about powering things. The branch on the green energy that I'm talking about today is solar power, and why it isn't a smart idea to invest into currently. We shall tackle both positives and negatives, my personal side, and the continuous development leading towards the future. Let's start with my opposition and what seem to be the positives of solar. Solar can hold a lot of benefits. Aries Vorvolius, a researcher in green energy and writer for the Green Match paper, states in his article, Pros and Cons of Solar Energy, that solar, like all green energy, is renewable and environmentally beneficial, giving itself a freebie on the positive side already. It's unique for having the ability to reduce costs on electricity and maintenance, increase property value, benefit the economy, and hold a ton of variety in application on its end. And let's not forget, the sun is nearly an endless power source for us to take from. But let's face it, the technology is still very limited, which segues into the cons. Muhammad Battar Hayat, a member of the International Journal of Research Energy, wrote in his journal, Solar Energy, a look into power generation challenges in a solar-powered future, about both sides of the argument in grand detail, and I highly recommend reading it if you ever get the time to. Within the journal, Muhammad goes on to explain that solar itself takes up a heavy amount of space, and even then, when you have the perfect spot, weather could just make that inefficient. Solar is dependent on a list of factors and is needed to have near perfect conditions to work properly, not to mention it is very environmentally dependent. Before you go and install your own solar panels or personal solar panels at home, make sure to factor in roof type, cost of panels and storage for the energy to actually be held for use, and landmass where your home is perched. Remember, solar needs to be used in the sun to its extent in order to charge anything. So sorry, forest and mountain dwellers, you're out of luck. Solar is expensive in not just cost, but resources, requiring expensive resources such as silver, copper, aluminum, silicon, steel, and even glass. But with solar taking up all this space, this leads to a dipping into the bucket of CO2, but pouring it into and strengthening another problem we face being pollution. This leads to my personal opinion, being that solar is there for good intentions. However, we're just not ready for that type of technology. If we continue to dump money into this resource-heavy path, we are just going to influence inflation and the many other economical problems we already are struggling to grasp onto. It stands that solar is just too limited at this time and holds too many risks. An example of this is in high school. Throughout high school, I put a lot of time in studying the green energy field and knowing what it takes to get there. We were assigned to make a solar birdhouse that lights up when in the sun as a final project of the year, my senior year. On the week of demonstrating the projects, it happened to be cloudy on the week of me and my partner presented. And let's just say it didn't end well. We tested multiple days in a row without any issue beforehand. Yet, we managed to fail the activity portion as it failed to light 3 days in a row of presentation attempts. With that event, whether it may be the factors and resources given to us, I would just hold a small distaste for the technology going forward. Solar itself is not a bad idea altogether. However, in our current world, we're just not ready for that many resources without the major problem wall right in front of us. When you look at the positives, the idea is on the right path, as it leads to renewable energy that over time benefits and markets yourself, and not just you, the market. You will notice having more money at the end of the month in your pocket, but at the same time, it's not as powerful as non-renewable sources. In the long run, it will add up to something beneficial, sure. However, it comes with the literal cost of resources, space, and money, and that we just can't perform without creating an uneven weight on the positive end of the scale. The reason I came to talk to you today is to teach you about the future of energy and what holds for a long civilization like us. But I also want to inform you on why we need to take it slow and not rush into it. Solar and green energy as a whole has been making its rounds. It can do so much for us as humans and almost necessary if we want to one day dream of reaching a higher level of civilization. But it holds nearly infinite potential and could possibly lead to a better world if only we had the right tools to break the seal of limits. To conclude this debate, I want you to leave thinking of the many possible outcomes that solar can have. With time, it can become a pretty easy installation of energy, but for right now, its limits make a winding road that lead to more disaster. Can it change the world for the better? That's up for you to decide. Thank you for listening. Woo! Alright, that's the updated version of the final speech. I'm not sure if you were able to hear that or not. I'll be able to hear it in the recording. Whew, am I nervous though, guys? I mean, I could I know I'm gonna do good. I'm just gonna stutter a bit. Saying I've had a lot less practice on this speech than any other is an understatement. I am worried, but I know I can do it. I've been doing it. I feel good. Ever since the beginning, you can see the video of me starting to me ending. I feel far more confident in myself. And maybe that's what led to less practice. But, I don't know. I mean, I've developed, I used to use index cards, now I use paper. As notes, it's not a script or anything. Hence why I stuttered from time to time, but whew, I'm a little worried, fellas. Wish me luck out there. I know I'm gonna do good. I'll see you all later. And this isn't the final speech you're gonna get this year. I have a ceremonial speech after this. But, still the final project, so I'll see you guys. See you later, peoples. Wish me luck.
Take a deep breath. Goodbye.